what UK is really doing since Brexit or even otherwise, I mean, it's a very mature market, so they keep reinventing themselves. So we are really doubling down on future sectors. So sectors like quantum, AI, life sciences, fintech, clean energy. These are sectors that are very, very important, and that's where London is putting its focus on. Where we see maximum investment coming from India is obviously in the ITES sector. But we are also seeing a lot of investment coming in other sectors like creative industries, life sciences, and a very rapidly growing one is sustainability. It addresses the needs of the 21st century. If you see today, tech, digital plays a huge part in everything that we do. And this FTA probably took this long to come to this point where the FTA was signed, was really to iron out these details.
Hello and welcome to this exclusive interview for ATS Insights. And with me today is Hemin Bharucha, who's a Regional Director, India and the Middle East at London and Partners. Hemin, welcome to ATS Insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Jagjeet.
All right, to start off, the Brexit was just over 5 years ago. A lot has changed since then. And today, as we have this conversation, how do you think the UK is redefining its post Brexit role? And where does it position itself to make itself essential to fast growing economies like India?
So Brexit, Jagjeet, actually was a game changer. As far as India goes, it was a game changer. We actually did a study where we saw that as companies of different nationalities, individuals started moving out of the UK, Indian entrepreneurs having that very entrepreneurial spirit, they saw that there's a gap in the market and they moved in very quickly to fill that gap. So that's why ever since Brexit happened for the last 5 years now, India is it leapfrogged to become the second largest investor in the UK, just behind the US. US obviously is the biggest. But interestingly, for the last 3 years, India is now the largest investor in London. And London, of course, is the jewel in the crown of the UK. And India is the largest investor in London. So that just goes to show you how entrepreneurial spirit of India and what UK has to offer. Now, what UK is really doing since Brexit or even otherwise, I mean, it's a very mature market, so they keep reinventing themselves. So we are really doubling down on future sectors. So sectors like quantum, AI, life sciences, fintech, clean energy. These are sectors that are very, very important. And that's where London is putting its focus on. These are the companies that we try to work with as well. And you will see this is why most of the large Indian companies, almost all of them actually, they have global innovation centers. So HCL Tech, for example, they have their global AI center in London. Emphasis, again, a great Indian tech company, they have their innovation hub in Tower 42, which is an iconic building. These are all, again, supported by the government. We have worked very closely to support these companies. And they also sell to the government. A lot of our Indian companies also sell to government. So
Right.
it's a great win-win both sides.
You mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of change that swept across sectors like deep tech, this clean energy, AI, ML, even creative industries for that matter. Where do you think the UK's structural strengths lie? And where do you think it must adapt so long as Indian innovation or Indian innovators are concerned?
So if we were to talk about sectors, I mean, UK is a world leader. If you talk about London, London is probably ranks in the top two or the top three in finance, in tech, in creative industries. But from an Indian perspective, where we see maximum investment coming from India is obviously in the ITES sector. But we are also seeing a lot of investment coming in other sectors like creative industries, life sciences, and a very rapidly growing one is sustainability. There's a lot happening over there, especially in clean energy, transportation, smart mobility, all of that. But if you were to ask me, like, what are the top three things that Indian companies look at when they are setting up globally? Actually, all global companies do, but especially uh, entrepreneurs from India, they focus, number one, of course, is customer. So London as a city, it's the capital as well as it's the financial hub. So, all your large customers, they are in one city itself. People don't really have to travel around. Second, they look at international talent. And again, London has a great pool of talent because of its universities. And third is global VC funding.
Right.
So London receives a lot of global VC funding, especially in sectors like AI, in sectors like your clean energy. In fact, it's said that the city of London alone gets more investment than all of Germany and France put together in sectors like AI and clean energy.
Right. Interesting. As you mentioned, you're the chief representative in India for the mayor of London. And as global ecosystems evolve, I'm really curious to know how London as a city, which is clearly central to the UK's vision, is repositioning itself as a long term growth partner. I mean, the short term growth is happening, as you mentioned. How does it address the long term question?
London, I'd like to share some numbers with you. Grant Thornton, they come out with a report every year. It's called the GT India Britain Tracker. So the latest report for 2025 shows that there are about 1,200 fast growing Indian companies across UK. But out of that, almost 50% have their European headquarters or their UK headquarters in London. Even if they don't have their HQ, they do have a significant presence. So again, if you'll see companies like Wipro, they've grown 450%. Zoho has grown 200%, according to the report. So again, these are fantastic numbers. Now, I spoke about earlier that, the top three reasons are customers, talent, and VC funding. But there are lots of other reasons also. Like, let's say the legal and accounting system. It's the same between UK and India. Time zone. So if you see time zone, by the time it's noon in India, London opens. By the time it's afternoon in London, US opens. So you can work with both the hemispheres from London. And a great Indian diaspora. 6% of London is of Indian origin. And these are, again, very powerful people, people in business, people in politics, and they are very willing to help Indian entrepreneurs who want to come over and set up as well. In terms of what are we doing to, I wouldn't say to stay relevant, but in what are we doing to future proof ourselves, is we have just come out with the London Growth Plan. And in the plan, it speaks about what sectors does London have to focus on now. So, sectors like quantum, AI, frontier innovation, these are the companies we work with and support to grow as well. London is also, interestingly, it's one of the only cities, I think, or certainly the first city to have its own chief digital officer.
Okay.
So a lot of our Indian companies, they work with the chief digital officer on how will we shape London, how will we make it a safer city, how will we have better transport, easier transport. So these are the kind of opportunities that we plug our Indian companies with. And then, of course, we have the FTA that's just been signed. And I think it's a historic FTA, as the Prime Minister rightly calls it. And I think that's going to be a real game changer.
Right. Let's pick on that. The FTA was recently signed. What do you think will really distinguish it as a truly 21st century trade deal?
So I think it addresses the needs of the 21st century. If you see today, tech, digital plays a huge part in everything that we do. And this FTA probably took this long to come to this point where the FTA was signed, was really to iron out these details. So I think for me, the top takeaways would be there's drastic reduction in tariffs. That's really a pragmatic way that they've done it. 99% of Indian goods entering the UK will have zero or almost negligible tariffs on them. And similarly, UK goods coming to India, 90% will not have tariffs. So that's really free trade, which is really the need of the hour in today's geopolitical situation. So reduce tariffs. Second, I would think, is it really increases mobility, especially for the tech sector, as well as for other sectors which are very important, like chefs, teachers, yoga teachers, so culturally as well. So that's the second thing that it will do. It provides a lot of transparency and predictability. Any business in the world doesn't want uncertainty. And currently, there's just so much uncertainty that I think businesses are really welcoming the predictability that will be there. It'll bring a lot of stability to business, and businesses can think long term. And finally, I think it will provide great opportunities for businesses on both sides to access government procurement, which is huge. And they've really simplified that process as well. That how do we access government contracts? Because currently it's a little difficult from both sides. Government obviously needs to be robust in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I'm really intrigued to know, how does this FTA, the details, how does this FTA change things for investors on both sides?
Well, there'll be a lot of opportunities that will happen. So we will see that, because of reduced tariffs, obviously there'll be a higher number of companies who will want to trade on both sides. There's, in terms of value, if you see, we are going to currently trade between India and UK is at 60 million. We expect it in the next 5 years to double to 120 million, and by 2040, another 40 billion pounds will be added. It'll create 1 million new jobs in India just from this FTA, and that will be the demand that's there.
Right.
It'll add 5 billion pounds to our economy in addition to what it currently is. So there's a lot of benefit from both sides. Again, softer things like it'll be easier in terms of visas and mobility for people. They've also removed the social security, which was for Indian companies, so that burden has been reduced. I think there's a lot that will happen.
Okay, so Hemin, in your experience, what is it that truly defines a global founder, someone who works at the intersection of global trade?
So I think having been in this field for the last 20 years, I know it's a very scary feeling for founders. I always believe, especially when they are investing overseas for the first time, because they have a very successful business over here in India, but then there's always that worry that how will I do it in a new market? But of late, probably in the last 5, 6 years, I see that our Indian founders are extremely confident. They are quick to make a decision. If they see a value, they are very quick to make a decision as well. And again, in UK, we welcome them because they come with a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. They bring in a lot of efficiencies. To answer your question, I think what really makes a global founder, what founders should think about when they are on this journey to set up globally, number one is to have a global thinking mindset. And by that I mean is, sometimes I talk to companies, even if they are some of the larger companies, they always say, find me a partner. We want to take that partnership model, or find me some customers, and then I will think about setting up. That's not really how it works. You want to set up globally, you first have to get all your ducks in a row. You have to get your funding in place. You have to have a clear strategy of
Right.
why are you going. Don't go to a place just because somebody is offering you some free space or some free desk or some financial incentive, because nothing comes for free. So look at what suits your business model the
Things have
best.
to align
Things have
perfectly.
to align. Second is, look at the networks. So we, as I mentioned earlier at London Partners, we have a huge team back in London that actually helps Indian companies once they set up in London. We plug them into the ecosystem. We just had London Tech Week, which happened. Again, speaking opportunities, we invite them for roundtable. Anything short of doing your business development, we help companies to grow in London. Government support. There is a lot of government support, both at the central level as well as London as a city. We are here in India. All our services are completely free of cost. So we are
Right.
here to help companies. And the fourth final point would be the cultural nuances. So again, that's very important. Don't try and take your Indian model and fit it in London. In fact, I always tell companies that ideally, especially for your front facing, your client facing people, head of business development, take somebody local. It could be
Right.
from any nationality, but take somebody who understands the culture, who understands the ways of working. Probably you could have a business deal done on a golf course or in the pub rather than in your boardroom. So
True.
these are some of the things that I think founders should think of when they are going on their global journey.
I mean, this conversation has been super insightful. Thank you so much for taking all the time for
Thank
this.
you very much, Jagjeet. Thank you.